Big news from Pickens, South Carolina. That's my hometown. For the first time since 1985, when I was but 4 years old, this will no longer be a key that I need to keep on my person. My wonderful parents, Martha and Murray Hughes, let it be known this summer that they are soon to sell my childhood home, and they are moving to the promised land for Furman University, in all of its wisdom, built a retirement community just outside the back gates. Isn't that wonderful? There they'll be close with former classmates to go see all the ball games, attend the concerts like they were college students way back when in the late 1960s. I'm so happy for them. It's the right time. It's the right move. And yet, if I'm honest with you today, I also grieve. In a life that has been punctuated by lots of change in following God's call, in 19 years of ministry, which also has been the current extent of our marriage partnership, and you thought you were marrying a lawyer, I'm so sorry. We have moved 12 times. 12 times, people. That's a lot of change. And throughout all of those years, whether the moves were within South Carolina or South America or back again, I could always count on 104 Mountain View Court, Pickens, South Carolina, 29671 to be my constant of what I defined as home. Now, I know that people will say, if these walls could talk, well, today, the walls of that beautiful home on the hill are going to speak just a little bit, so you can understand why it's so near and dear to me. When I was but 6 years old, I carved my initials into my parents' furniture, only to later then lie and blame it on my brother, who also has D.H. as his initials, Daniel Hughes. When I was found out, I received a terrible spanking, but I could still say I almost got away with it. We had the best basketball court in the front of our house where all the neighborhood kids would come and play, and I was a force to be reckoned with. And we had the best backyard football field in the whole neighborhood where all the kids would come and test their mettle. I can also think about a time when I was 16 and was grounded for a previous offense, which I won't go into, and was given strict instructions by my dad that I could only leave the house in one circumstance, which is to go down the road and visit my grandfather using his car, which I did, only then to back out and tear off the side view mirror on the side of the garage on my way to go see my grandfather. When my dad got home, he said, "I can't believe it, grounding you cost me $1,200. I remember being there for the first time at a college Sunday school lunch. Rebecca was also present, and my mom asked me, "Are you two dating?" And I said, "No, we're just friends." Remember that? Only then to return 2 weeks later and then to pull my mom aside and say, "Oh, by the way, we are dating now." And she said, "I knew it." Remember watching Maggie make some of her first earliest moment memories with grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, and of course, Barry Dog. Rip. And for me personally, always going and never being too grown to sit in my mom's lap and get my back scratched, or go on a walk with my dad. So you can understand a little bit about why I'm grieving. And yes, tears have been shed. Happy tears, mind you, but tears no less. I guess the question that comes to the forefront of my heart and mind, which I want to be in yours also this Sunday, is, will I accept this as a part of my faith journey? Will I accept this change as a part of my faith journey? Can any of us accept such types of change as a part of their faith journey? As I think about that in light of this scripture, I can't help but think that as we talked about faith from Hebrews chapter 11, we go to that quintessential first verse, which says, faith is being confident in what we hope for and assured about what we do not see. That sounds great, right? That sounds like we can all do faith. Faith is easy. But then you go into what the author details as the Hall of Fame of faith, and you see what faith personified looks like. And across the board, starting with Abraham, you see that faith includes saying goodbye to past homes and working forward to new horizons, which are always foreign and future and strangely unknown. That's what it means to walk by faith. The choir so beautifully illustrated that as they talked about specific people who walked by faith. And some of you might be looking at this lifestyle and say, why, that seems restless, maybe even careless, that we would always be letting go of our former or even current homes and then reaching out to something that is unknown. But I think that it's perhaps the epitome of what St. Augustine said in his wisdom when he said, our restless hearts find rest in thee. Or what Isaiah said is that he will keep in perfect peace those whose minds are stayed on you because they trust you. That's what I think faith is. It's letting go of the former things and being willing to grab hold of the future, foreign, unknown things and trusting God all the while. And yet in that turmoil and restlessness, we find a peace that surpasses all understanding. So I say unto you that whatever change you're going through, and all of us know that change is the constant of life, right? Through faith, you can let go of what was past, and you can grab hold of what is future, even though you don't quite know what that future is. Because by faith, God's got you. He's going to take care of you. And in fact, He's going to set in motion a new narrative in your life, which I think all of us need to grab hold of. You see, in literature, starting back from the ancients, a poet named Homer in ancient Greece, he started a template for a story which a lot of literature, even until the present day, follows. And that is the point of the story, as is outlined by the Iliad and the Odyssey, is always to return home. That's the whole arc of that story. It's to return home. But Abraham sets a new narrative. He says the point of the story is not to return home, not to return to the former known things. The point of the story is to, by faith, keep reaching out to that which is unknown, that which is future, that which is foreign, and yet meeting God there so that you can be a part of the development and realization of his plan. In Abraham's case, it was to start an entire legacy, a people of faith. Listen to what the author of Hebrews says about Abraham and everyone who follows in that hall of fame of faith, including the likes of you and me who are sitting here today in verses 13 through 16. I'm going to read from the Message. He simply asks, how did they do it? They saw it way off in the distance, waved their greeting and accepted the fact that they were transients in the world. People who live this way make it plain that they are looking for their true home. If they were homesick for the old country, they could have gone back at any time they wanted, but they were after a far better country than that. And I love this part, heaven country. Can you say heaven? You can see why God is so proud of them and has a city waiting for them. If you're like me and you read this story, you're kind of wondering, how in the world could people who are described as transients, as homeless, how could they add to the beauty of God's story, especially in a day and age in which we associate transient and homeless people as detracting from the beauty of our towns or our neighborhoods? But God says, in the mindset in which you are currently homeless, and you are reaching out to heaven country, something that is your actual and final home, you make him proud. Now, that's not to disassociate ourselves from the here and now. If you look at the lives of those people listed in the Hall of Fame of Faith, it's precisely because they let go of their current home and reached to their future home that they were able to make their current home more like heaven instead of trying to make heaven more like the place where they live. Now, let me say that again because that's a lot of words and a very important idea. It's precisely because these people let go of their current home and reach towards their final home, heaven country, that they were able to look around at where they currently resided and make it more like heaven instead of trying to make heaven more like the place where they currently live. That's, in essence, why God is proud of them in so many levels. And I think, too, God can be proud of us as well. I know many of our youth and children and teachers have started back school, many more are going to begin tomorrow. I know there's no greater thrill, at least not in my case, and you got back a graded paper and it had an A+. Didn't that make you proud? Remember that? What about if you got a sticker? Ooh, a sticker. You did good. Excuse me, for the English buffs in the room, you did well. You did well. What if you got a smiley face and a note from the teacher? Remember that? Like, great job, David. Man, stick that chest out. Stretch your stuff. That's how you want God to be about you, isn't it? Don't you want God to look at your life and say, I'm proud of them? Then we need to get around the idea of letting go of the place that we currently reside, that we call home, and instead say, nope, my final home, my true home is heaven, and because of that, in the fulfillment of the prayer of Jesus, I'm going to make the here and now on earth as it is in heaven. And that's a hard thing to do. You can only do it by faith. Period, paper, end of paragraph. By faith alone is it possible. So let me go right to the heart of this and see if I can tease this out a little bit more. I love living in Carrollton, don't you? I love living in Carroll County. I love the sense of community. I love the civic pride. I love the fact that I can walk from First Baptist Church and go to a beautiful downtown, meet the likes of you for coffee or lunch. I love that about Carrollton. I love the fact that the green belt is right outside my back door to my house, and we can go out there and have a safe place to exercise. I love the fact that we can go to football games galore on Friday night at any one of our local high schools. I love that, and I'm sure you could list the same things and probably many more, especially as some of you have grown up here, were even born here, and have spent your entire lives here. But if you live by faith alone, Carrollton is not really your home. Carrollton, this beautiful town, this wonderful place where my family and I choose to live and do ministry, it's not really our home. It's not your home. Heaven is your home. And as surely as we say that, then we can reach forward to a heavenly kingdom and instill those values in the here and now. Now, that's really hard to do, especially since here in Carrollton there exists something called the Carrollton Kudzu. Have you ever heard of that? Herb Smith told me when I got here, he said, David, I give you 2 years. If you make it that long, you're staying here forever. It's the Carrollton Kudzu, right? It like wraps its arms around you, and then it is the embrace that will never let you go. It's this multi-layered mix of family and profession and friendships and community identity. And lo and behold, if all of those things aren't true, the Carrollton Kudzu is real. Like, it ain't no joke. It's got us planted here, but I dare say that by faith alone, none of us are anchored to this reality. Because as much as we love Carrollton, and I love it, it's not heaven, right? It's not heaven. It's not heaven. It's not heaven country. And I can point to a myriad of challenges we have before us in our community. How about the huge gap between the amount of foster kids there are and the limited amount of foster parents we have, as Mariah Whitner, our mobilization director, has so beautifully illustrated again and again. Kids here in our community don't have a place to live. What about the growing amount of people who are homeless in our community? We see them everywhere. Only on the rise. Huge problem, huge challenge. What about the terrible rash of murders that have been in this community? People who have lost their lives and families who are going to grieve for the rest of theirs, and then people who are being charged by these crimes. Some of them are our youth. Some of them are supposed to be the most innocent amongst us, and they're committing hardened crimes or allegedly committing hardened crimes. It's not heaven. Heck, even in our own church, right? I love to say we got it all together, but First Baptist Church is no different than any church that ever has been, right? We're just a hospital for sinners who are in recovery. That's all we are. It's all I am. This isn't heaven. So don't get complacent. That's what I'm saying. Don't get satisfied with the here and now thinking, we got it made, we good. No, I think within every heart that follows after Jesus, there needs to be a healthy level of discontentment that pushes us forward to be agents of the kingdom of God, so that we're constantly striving, constantly putting ourselves in uncomfortable positions, so that we're truly trying to say, I realize that the gap between Carrollton and heaven is significant, but lo and behold, if I'm not trying to close that gap, by taking these things that I realize to be true about heaven, justice, love, forgiveness, generosity, courage, and I'm trying to make it here, right here in my community, first and foremost, through my home. I've got 3 questions, by the way. I just wanted to ask about it. 3 questions where I think all of us can make it on earth as it is in heaven, and I think it starts in our home. How's your home? How's your family? How you doing? A wiser person than me said the house is the only place where Jesus Christ can effectively be taught and preached and exemplified 7 days a week. That's the only place on earth, the home. How's yours? How are your conversations? Are they undistracted? Are screens tucked away and you look at each other eyeball to eyeball and you ask the significant questions of, how are you doing? How was your day? And you wait to hear the real answers. Do you have times in which you pray together as a family? Do you have those times at home? How's your home? Are your conversations reflecting encouragement and love and kindness? Or are they not? And here's the reason why I start with the home. If the home is a place that is trying to become like heaven, then I think the rest of your life will follow. I think it will. But if the home is disassociated from that faith journey, it is unlikely to impossible that the rest will follow. It starts neatly at your home. How's your home? How are your relationships with your kids? Husbands and wives, how are your relationships with one another? How's it going? How's your church? How's First Baptist Church? I already said it, we're not perfect. We realize that we haven't arrived, nor will we ever. Are we actively trying to become like a heavenly kingdom here? I think that's going to be netly related to our individual practice of spiritual disciplines. If we as individual followers of Jesus are pursuing him, he was, after all, the author and perfecter of our faith. He was the crescendo of your song. If there's anybody that lived by faith, it was Christ. He shows us the way. And yet, if we're not following him individually, daily, constantly, with discipline, then our corporate possibilities for a church becoming like heaven are going to be very limited. We might be able to do a church business session, but we're not ever going to be able to do God's business. Do you follow? Are you with me? So here's what we're going to do as a church to help all of us, encourage all of us, because this isn't a journey of drudgery and discontent where you have to do things. It should be one of great joy. I get to follow after Jesus, and if the church has any role in that, it's to encourage you along the way. It's to give you tools and abilities to do that. So through our Sunday school ministry, as a result of our Thriving Communities implementation team, that comes from that strategic plan that we did now over 2 years ago, every Sunday school class is going to be doing one curriculum on spiritual disciplines for the next 5 weeks, starting on August 17th and ending on September 14th. We start next Sunday with a kickoff Sunday, breakfast, Bible study, and then a worship series that reflects those same spiritual disciplines. Sounds great, right? Are you excited? There's but one agent that is missing, and I don't get to decide that. Will you be there? There's a lot of folks that attend worship only, not Sunday school. This is not a judgment statement. I am asking, however, that for the next 5 weeks, every single person, whether you are a visitor, a regular attender, or a member, you make a concerted effort to be a part of Sunday school and worship for the next 5 weeks. Now, some of you are already thinking, Pastor, that's college football. That's Labor Day. Yeah, but his name is Jesus. I don't know what else to say. So I'll just say this. Do your best. Make an effort. And see if your spiritual life isn't rewarded. Because everybody gets a free copy of this curriculum. It's in a Sunday school classroom, one per household. You read it before you go into Sunday school class. The Sunday school class teacher is going to teach on it. Pastor's going to preach on it. You get to practice it and watch as your individual life transforms with heavenly values, and therefore, as an outcome, this church doesn't follow along. It'll happen, I'm telling you, by faith alone. Last but not least, how's your neighborhood? Boy, I love getting stuck in the same old questions, right? People move into the neighborhood, you say, who are they? What's their name? They go to church anywhere? Yeah, they go to church anywhere? And then 5 years later, we're asking the same questions, right? Who are they? What's their name? They go to church anywhere? Guess what? Those questions don't ever get asked unless you make an introduction. Unless you go up and, not for the purpose of having them here, but just as an agent of the kingdom of God, you don't learn about their life. You're not connected to them, and in the moment where they have a struggle, they have a need, there's an opportunity for you not to just do the cultural norm of saying thoughts and prayers, hope it works out. That's bogus. That's weak. But instead, you get to say, I'm going to be the hands and feet of Jesus. I'm going to take a meal. I'm going to show up. I'm going to say an encouraging word. By faith alone, I believe that could change not only their lives for a moment, but for all eternity. That's what it means to live by faith alone. See, all of us today are being called to let go of the former things. Your former comfort level, your former idea of what it means to be a disciple, your former idea of what it means to have a Christian home. And by faith alone, this author from Hebrews is challenging you. He's saying, it's not about the here and now. Look to heaven country. And as much as you understand that reality, make your current reality reflect it until one day, that will be your forever home. That's the narrative he's speaking over your life. Now back to Pickens as I conclude. We're going to help Mom and Dad sort through 40 years of memory. Probably find some really embarrassing pictures of myself. We'll say goodbye, all of us in our own way. Hopefully having a family meal there one more time unless they've sold the house before then. November 3rd is their move-in date to their new home. But as we do, and surely we cry a few more tears, it's not going to be a sad goodbye. It is going to be a part of the faith journey where all of us are letting go and embracing the new. And for me and my family, at 102 Kingston Circle, Carrollton, Georgia, 30117, don't show up for dinner. Don't. We're tickled to be here. Carrollton is the place where we live. And inasmuch as that is true, we want it to become like our heavenly home. That's the charge your pastor feels over his life. But I want to invite you to that same charge. Write the name of your household address. Write the name of your town current. Perhaps you're watching from a long way away. Wherever that is, it is. But your eyes are also set on the future, on the unknown. And you're ushering heaven in one step at a time until you're home forever. What a story. What faith. And by faith alone, and on a wing and a prayer, it becomes yours today. The hymn says, wherever he leads, I'll go. I'll follow my Christ who loves me so. Wherever he leads, I'll go. That's the story that you're proclaiming over your life and that of your family. Would you take that hymnal? Would you sing that amazing hymn? And would you respond as you feel so led? Let us stand and sing.